Alright, so we got a Kaws piece here today. Another time lapse. So we're finna go ahead and get started. Kaws piece, of course, as you can see, is holding the money. Got some smoke kind of come off the side, going between the leg, going off the side. And then at the bottom, I have a $ shadow come off the Kaws piece. So instead of a shadow, it's just a $. Just cool little touch and effect. A lot of times I like to use line work to outline the piece, or at least the section that I'm working on at that moment. But with the shadow being a soft pretty much figure, I didn't think to go ahead and do the line work on this. I think just kind of outlining that area more than suffice for the piece at hand. I'll go ahead and get into more line work as we get through pretty much through this part. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and throw out some basic tips. It's good to start from the bottom of the piece, so that way when you wipe the piece, you're not wiping away the stencil or anything that you've drawn. So it's good to kind of go ahead and knock out an area. And I see some people, they put the line work for the whole piece and then go back and do shading, which is nothing wrong with that, to each his own. But I would recommend doing a section at a time, so that way the client isn't in that much pain. Because if I do all the line work here and start from the wrist and then do the line work all the way up to the elbow, then go back and shade, I'm gonna be shading something that I might have lined up 2-3 hours ago, which be putting the client through more pain, which makes it harder for detailed sessions and the longevity of them getting to make it through the session by, you don't want to give them more pain than they already going to be in. Alright, so for this next part, I want you to just keep in mind contrast, and just make sure you're tattooing your solid blacks and you're leaving some clear skin where ink doesn't touch it, to help out contrast on darker skin tone complexions. So when you're tattooing, end of the day, number one thing is to make sure that you're a great tattoo artist is just giving a fuck. You gotta care about what you're doing. Just think about the fact that it's gonna be permanent on somebody's body. And end of the day, if you don't like the price that they're paying, that's your fault. You should have charged them more. But end of the day, once somebody sits in your chair, focus on putting out the best work that you can put out, not how much you're getting paid. Business is business, but at the same time, you got to make sure that whatever you're doing, you put your name on it by pretty much doing the work. So they're gonna say that you did it, and you want to make sure that when they speak of your work, that they have something positive to say. As you can see here, I try to do my tattoos in sections to focus on detail and making sure that I don't miss anything. You want that the dark spots be next to the light spots, and the light spots be next to the dark spots. That's what's gonna make the light spots appear lighter by being next to some solid black, and the black spots are going to be darker by being next to some skin where any ink hasn't touched it yet. So that's one of the big parts of just making the piece pop, is finding the balance between where to shade and where not to shade. And no matter what you're doing, always make sure you can take your time. When you're doing these pieces, no matter how simple the piece may be, you always want to be able to take your time. Take your time going through the lines, take your time going through the shading, finding the angle that you shade the smoothest that, find the angle that you get the smoothest line, just take your time. So as I get back to the session, you'll kind of see I'll be working on some of these lines around the ears. And even though it's a simple line, I'm not rushing through the line, I'm not trying to hit the line in one swoop. Taking my time to make sure I have an even, clean line. Just using a smaller needle. Yes, it might take a little bit more time, but you can ensure the cleanliness of your lines. Make sure that even if you do make a little error, you have room to fix it, because you're working with such a small margin of error by using smaller needles. What you're giving away is time. So it's just determining, do you really want to cut out time for that piece that you can't even market? So you want to make sure you got a marketable piece, and that's why a marketable piece is having a good looking piece. So take your time, make sure you get right up there on them edges, smooth shading, but you got to take your time. If you're rushing, you're trying to have them quick pieces and get them in and out of there, like it's gonna be nice. It's gonna be a cool concept, but as far as cleanliness and flow, you're gonna have to take your time. As you can see, I keep doubling down on this black shading on the edge. A lot of times when you're doing these pieces, you have these darks, these grays, different shades of grays, skin showing. A lot of times you can kind of seal it in with some heavy black, and you'll kind of see as it zooms out how that heavy black kind of lets the piece pop to show the detail and difference in the contrast between the piece and pretty much the piece and different just highs and lows, and the darks, the super black areas, the gray areas, the just skin. And pretty much just that's what gives the piece the definition and the pop of, yeah, just having that, just being strategic with where you place your blacks and where you leave the skin showing, and how long are you fading it out versus are you doing a abrupt stop on the fade, or are you fading all the way out to the end. So it's just learning your highs and lows for each piece, and just kind of playing around with the contrast and the different areas you can shade, and pretty much just something that you have to work on pretty much through each tattoo to learn a fair balance between each tat that you're doing based upon the skin complexion, the design, and if you do want to add some, or if you're just filling in the areas. So pretty much as you do these pieces, just keep in mind and just work around the different techniques of shading that super dark black off the edges, and to make the inside, the inner piece pop, with those lighter tones. But it's good to have that solid black just to balance it out. And as you can see, on a darker complexion, it's a lot of skin open right there in the middle torso area. That's so as the piece heals, it doesn't look like just, oh, he's tatted, but you can't tell what it is. So as the piece heals, having those super light areas next to those super dark areas allows the client to be able to walk around and people identify what his tattoos are versus just seeing that he's tatted. I'll have more in-depth explanations in further videos, but first thing is first is you got to get your mind right if you want to be able to do a good tattoo. That's the first thing. Being positive, going in there knowing you're gonna put your best effort forward, and making sure this client has a piece they can be happy with, and they not want to kick your ass, 6 months down the line.